Something is happening in Houston, and nobody can fully explain it yet. A team that looked broken at 2-4 has suddenly turned into the biggest threat in the AFC, and the shift was so fast that it caught the entire division off guard. One week, they were sinking. The next week, they were playing with a force that felt completely different. Like someone flipped a switch the rest of the league didn't see coming. What makes this even more unsettling for their opponents is how controlled and confident the Texans look now. No wasted drives, no slow starts, no scared body language. They show up with a steady, dangerous calm that teams only have when they know something is working. The same group that looked lost now plays like they're hiding something powerful. And every win adds more tension around the AFC. That's why this rise feels more like a warning than a surprise. You don't jump from chaos to dominance unless something deep inside the team changes. Houston didn't just get better. They rebuilt their entire attitude while everyone counted them out. And to understand how this turnaround exploded so quickly, we need to look at the foundation that pushed this team into a new identity. Don't forget to subscribe to Read On Report for more powerful NFL stories. What makes Houston's rise even stranger is how quickly their rebuild became a real force. Just 2 years ago, this team looked like it needed a full reset. Nobody feared them. Nobody expected anything big. Then the pairing of DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud changed the entire picture. Not slowly, but in a way that made people ask how a broken franchise could flip this fast. It felt less like a rebuild, and more like someone dropped the right leaders into the room at the perfect time. The early part of this season didn't match that promise at all. The Texans came in talking about bigger goals, higher expectations, and a team ready to take the next step. But the start was a mess. The offense looked stuck, the protection was shaky, and the confidence that carried them the last 2 years seemed to disappear. It shocked a lot of people because this wasn't supposed to be a learning year. It was supposed to be the year they finally broke through. And that's exactly why the turnaround hit so hard. When a team is built to rise and still falls flat, most groups crash and never recover. Houston didn't. They found a way to wake up in the middle of the storm. And the rebuild that once looked promising suddenly became dangerous. Something inside the franchise clicked again, and that switch is what pushed them into the powerful run they're on now. The Texans didn't turn their season around with tricks or lucky breaks. They changed because their mindset refused to collapse when everything around them was falling apart. DeMeco Ryans built a culture where players don't run from tough moments. They lean into them. When the team opened the season with ugly mistakes and slow starts, the locker room didn't split. Instead, they doubled down on discipline, showing a level of unity that felt unusually strong for a young roster. Ryans pushed a simple message that hit harder once the pressure grew. Stay sharp, stay accountable, and play every snap with purpose. That attitude slowly spread through the entire building. You could see it in the way players talked, how they practiced, and how they responded to setbacks. Instead of panic, there was focus. Instead of frustration, there was belief. Little things that used to derail them now became chances to adjust and strike back. And that mental shift is what fueled everything that followed. A team without a stable identity suddenly had one. A team that once played soft started playing with an edge. This new mindset didn't just steady the Texans. It set the foundation for the tough, locked-in version of the team that would soon show up week after week. Their culture didn't just survive the early chaos. It grew stronger inside it. While the offense struggled to find its footing early, the defense became the part of this team that refused to let the season fall apart. They played fast, they hit hard, and they made every yard a fight. Week after week, they kept Houston in games they had no business staying in. It wasn't just hustle, it was control. Opponents felt the pressure from the first snap, and it forced teams to rethink their game plans before halftime. The pass rush became the anchor of everything. When a defense can close space that quickly, it changes how confident the rest of the roster plays. The Texans used that edge to dictate tempo, create turnovers, and cut down the easy plays that used to cost them games. Every stop added more belief, and every big moment made it clear this defense wasn't just good, it was shaping the team's identity. And that identity spread fast. Once the defense locked in, the entire team started moving with a sharper purpose. Games that used to slip away in the fourth quarter suddenly stayed in Houston's hands. They didn't give opponents breathing room. They didn't let mistakes turn into long runs of bad momentum. The defense didn't just keep them alive. It pushed the season into a completely new direction. The real shock came when CJ Stroud went down, and everyone expected the season to fall apart. Most teams lose their starting quarterback and immediately slide backward, But Houston didn't blink. Davis Mills stepped in and played with a calm, steady hand that caught the entire division off guard. He didn't force throws, he didn't panic under pressure, and he didn't try to be the hero. He just kept the team stable when they needed it most. Those games became a turning point. Mills didn't throw huge numbers, but he brought control. Drives stayed alive. Mistakes stayed low. And the Texans played like a group that trusted every piece of the roster, not just the star at the top. That trust mattered. It showed the rest of the league that Houston had real depth and a system strong enough to survive the toughest moment of their season. And the comeback win over Jacksonville sealed that point. The Texans didn't fold, even with the odds stacked against them. They fought their way back, they stayed sharp in big moments, and they walked away with a win that changed how people viewed them. That stretch with a backup quarterback didn't expose weakness. It revealed the strength that had been building under the surface all year. The biggest issue holding Houston back early in the season was their offensive line. They couldn't protect the quarterback, couldn't build rhythm, and every drive felt rushed or broken. It didn't matter how talented the offense was, nothing works when the foundation keeps collapsing. But instead of letting the problem linger, the Texans kept adjusting, switching pieces, and testing combinations until something finally clicked. When the right group came together, the difference was immediate. The protection settled, the run game opened up, and the offense stopped playing in panic mode. Drives became cleaner, decisions became easier, and the quarterback finally had the time to see the field. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about being stable enough to let the talent take over. That stability changed the tone of every game afterward, and that shift carried through the entire team. With fewer hits and fewer broken plays, Houston's offense started to look like a unit that could control the pace instead of chasing it. They didn't need explosive numbers, they just needed balance. The offensive line gave them that, and once they had it, the Texans moved into a level of play that matched the confidence their defense had been carrying all year. Everything the Texans had been building finally showed up in their biggest test of the year. Walking into Arrowhead is usually a nightmare for most teams, but Houston didn't look bothered for a second. They played like they belonged there. They pressured Patrick Mahomes from the start, forced mistakes, and controlled the game in a building where very few teams control anything. That alone sent a clear message across the league. The defense didn't just slow the Chiefs, they shut them down in a way that felt rare. Mahomes struggled to find rhythm. The receivers couldn't break free, and every drive felt like a fight. Houston kept stacking stops until the pressure finally broke Kansas City's confidence. It wasn't loud or flashy. It was steady and suffocating. The kind of performance that makes opponents rethink everything they assumed about your team. And the offense delivered the moment that sealed it. A key deep throw here, a sharp scoring drive there, and the Texans created just enough separation to lock in a win that shifted how the AFC looks at them. This wasn't an upset. It was validation. Houston walked into a champion's home, played their game, and left with control, confidence, and a statement win that changed their entire season. The Texans didn't just survive a rough start. They rebuilt themselves into a team that looks ready for playoff pressure. Every part of their season shows growth under stress. The early mistakes forced them to tighten up, the injuries tested their depth, and the tough losses forced them to figure out who they really were. Now they play with a calm, confident style that doesn't fade when the game gets tight. Their identity is clear. A tough defense that controls the pace, an offense that protects the ball and hits when it matters, and a locker room that doesn't get shaken by bad moments. That combination is what separates regular season teams from playoff threats. Houston doesn't need blowouts or perfect games. They win by staying sharp, staying patient, and stepping up when the moment is highest. And now the stakes are right in front of them. One game behind the top of the division, playing their best football of the year, and carrying momentum that feels stronger each week. The Texans don't feel like a surprise anymore. They feel like a team built for the kind of games that decide a season. With everything finally lining up, they control their own path, and that alone makes them dangerous. Blessings to all my Red Zone Report subscribers family, your support means everything. Stay tuned, stay sharp, and I catch you in the next one.